Well, boys and girls, finally after almost a week at home, my black dog, bulldog, is finally rolling. And I'm leaving Fort Erie's Flying J. Didn't want to fuel up here, but it's $17.9, so basically $1.18 per liter Canadian. And I did some calculations, and because I get back the sales tax, which is 13%, and because the Canadian dollar is so weak now, I figured might as well fill up here. Because by my calculations, $1.18 per liter is the same as $3.28 US dollars per gallon. And I'm heading towards North Carolina via Pennsylvania. So my next stop is going to be TA in Harbor Creek, Pennsylvania. And I doubt very much that diesel is cheaper than $3.28 there, US. Oh, and about that Christmas party. Turns out it was a joke. The guy who invited me said there would be 7 or 8 people
right turn on
at the party. So I shave, you know, buy new jeans, buy new sneakers, you know, looking good and handsome, hoping for some single women, some dancing, and then I'm driving there on some dark, curvy roads, like 25 miles away, small town, and there's no cars on the street, just 2 cars in the driveway. I know one of the cars was the guy's, and the house is like a tomb. Something is not right. So I asked him about where's all the people, and I was about 15 minutes late. And he smiles and he says, well, it was a joke. So, advice for my viewers, don't joke like that if you want to keep friends, right? Because that's not funny.
Freeway entrance on the right, on QEW4
What's funny about, you know, inviting people and telling them, basically, giving them bullshit facts? So I buy them gifts, right? I buy them presents, hoping that there will be some big, you know, party, right? And people will be exchanging gifts. And all I get is some food in plastic cans, which is still not too bad, because, you know, when I came back, I totally forgot how crazy this Christmas Day holiday is, because everything was closed on the next day. You know, I was staying at the hotel. You know, this would be totally unacceptable in Russia, you know? Like, we always have grocery stores at least open on holidays. And restaurants are always open on any holiday. Here, the restaurants were closed, right? Most coffee shops were even closed. Like, I found one Starbucks, which was miraculously open. So I had nothing to eat, you know? So except for this stupid plastic containers with some salad, I'd probably be dead from starvation by now. So it was an interesting Christmas adventure. So no more Christmas parties for me. Alright, now this is, you see on the right, it says 4-kilometer QW, that's what it is, Queen Elizabeth Way. So 4 kilometers to the US border in Buffalo, New York. Now yesterday was a crazy day. Loading, it was Saturday, today's Sunday, and I got so tired. Jesus. because I had to move, mostly not because of the load. My load is just a brand new factory machine. Weighs what, 49,000 pounds, and the guys were very helpful because they do ship them to the US all the time. So Jesus, they had the plastic covers, you know, their own throwaway tarp with some special padding. They protected all the sharp corners. It's like the best topping experience you can have. And of course they have the cranes. That's how they load it, with the big ceiling crane, and they just draped the top over the load. It was, you know, amazing. That doesn't happen often.
Freeway entrance on the left at 0.7.
And it's a Canadian factory. They do. Oh, here's the duty free. I often stop here, but not today. Because I just did what? 4 kilometers. But so the guys were very helpful, and it was a very smooth experience, you know, like smooth sailing. But the problem was these stupid boards, the outrigger boards, because I left them in the middle. What the heck? Like, they change here all the time. You know? US Customs prepaid user fee only. Why did they close that one? You know, I don't want to go through.
Approaching freeway entrance on the left. On view.
Because this is pre-inspection. Oh, okay. Yeah, they tried this new idea, pre-inspection of trucks on the Canadian side, and these are US guys. And somehow it didn't work. It was like a pilot project, you know. But anyway, so the boards, so 4 8-footers, right, and 4 6-footers. They're so heavy. So I finally put them, what I figured was,
East Bridge Connector Vert Drive.
Now here you have to be very careful, because the cars are flying from the left.
Keep to the right at 1 kilometer.
And it's a very sharp curve, so I have to move to the left so that my trailer wheels don't go over the sidewalk. See how big the sidewalk, how high it is. And cars don't care, right? So they just try to pass you as soon as possible. But anyway, so I was moving those boards, and they were all in the middle of the trailer. And of course, I got lazy. I didn't move them on the day before when I was, you know, when it was time off. But it would be the same effort. But what I ended up doing is I put the 4 long ones, I put them in the back where the rear wheels of the trailer are, because there's a big metal plate in there. But moving 4 boards by myself from the middle of the trailer to the wheel area, that was quite an exercise, I'm telling you guys. So I'm still very happy that I cut the boards. Oh, and then the smaller ones, I put them behind the truck on the catwalk, on the truck's frame, where my tarps used to be. So now I'm not sure yet where I'm going to keep the tarps once I untop this machine. Okay, this is the Peace Bridge, so we're going to shut
Keep to the right.
down the camera now, because these...
Followed by up. Keep to the left.
I'm not supposed to film at customs, right? I wish they would have some sign, right? Because then they get offended that you film, but why there's no signs? You know, tell me that it's illegal. Like, why would I want to break the law, right? You tell me it's against the law, I'm not going to film. And I'm in US, this is Buffalo, New York. So, across the border without a hitch.
Keep to the right.
5 minutes.
Exit 7 and Y5 West Lackawanna. Followed by up. Keep to the right.
And actually, I like driving on weekends because usually there's less traffic, right? Especially going through a big city like Buffalo is, you know, relatively big. Boy, and I had to spend probably an hour this morning retopping the front of the load. The top was you know, puffing up and blowing and moving. And of course the machine is, you know, irregular shape, no ceiling. You cannot walk on the top, and there's two big metal pieces sticking out in the front and rear, kind of like a cannon, or as the guys at the plant lovingly call them, dicks. Yeah, that's what they call them, because it looks like a, you know, it's a big metal piece just sticking out on both ends.
Freeway exit on the right then, 3 kilometers on exit 32NY 16th and Industry.
And because of that, it was very difficult to properly position the tarp. And the bottom, there was a space at the bottom because of the chains, right? So the top, you know, kind of rides higher because of chains. And there was an opening there, and when you drive, the air gets in, and it starts, you know, filling up the top inside with air. And that's the big problem. So I had to undo the entire front.
Freeway exit on the right then, 2 kilometers on exit 32NY 16th and Industry.
This thing is trying to send me somewhere to some crazy shortcuts. New York 16, before it tried to send me on New York 5. What, are you crazy? I'm heading to I-90. Leave me alone. So anyway, yeah, so I already did the tarp and moved the ends of the tarp to the sides instead of doing the, you know, the cross, like the typical cross where you take one end and wrap it around and fix it on the other side and then do the same.
On the right then, 1 kilometer on exit 32NY 16th and Industry.
And I just keep the front straight and move the ends of the tarp on their respective sides. And I had to buy some bungee cords because I ran out of bungee cords. And they had a deal at the truck stop. 5 bungee cords for $10.
Prepare to exit on the right. On.
Shut up!
32NY 16th and Industry.
See, it says 16. Why would I want 16? Yeah, this is a very cheap GPS. I tried to upgrade the maps on it, and it didn't work.
Right turn in 0.5 kilometers on US 62 Daly Avenue.
Maybe because I got a Mac computer, but this GPS is a couple of years old. I checked on the web.
Freeway exit on the right then, 1 kilometer on exit 22NY 354 to US 62.
Okay, that's it. That was your last words for the next 2 hours. I just unhooked it from the power. Dying a slow death. And I feel extremely satisfied. I don't know, maybe I had too much coffee, but this thing just gets under my skin, this plane. Alright, where's exit 0? Come on. Sign I need. See on the top. So if I stay left, I will end up 90 east. If I stay right, I go to Erie on 90 west. And that's what I need. That's my next stop. Erie, Pennsylvania. There's a TA truck stop there. And then I'll be taking, so I-90, then I'll be taking I-79. US 19 to, what is it, 77, 64. Yeah, we need this one. Bye-bye, Buffalo. About the 18-speed transmission. Well, it works great. Now I get used to the pedals. That was the problem, right? The pedals, the way they're positioned, you have to get used to how to push them. But it's pretty much the same as a 13-speed. Like how many RPMs you lose when you upshift. So, but this one, so when I'm loaded in the top 2 gears, I accelerate to 1500 RPM, because then when I end up at the next gear, my RPM goes down by 200 RPM and I end up at 1300, and that's the minimum the truck wants with a heavy load in order to pull, because if it's less than 1300, doesn't want to pull, especially when there's a slight hill. But in the other gears, these are only like top 2, right? But in like gear, what is it, 5, 6, 7, I go only as high as 1400. And it's still okay because it ends up at 1200 in the next gear, and it still pulls fine in those 3 gears. But of course, each one is split, so 5 low high, 6 low high, 7 low high. It's just the 7 high, and then 8 low, 8 high. That's where you need to accelerate slightly, to the highest speed. Or stay sober. That's a good slogan. This is a paid road or toll road, платная дорога. I gotta go through this woods here, and you see on top it says Easy Pass, and that's the transponder. And I got that transponder, so then they just charge my credit card, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper than paying cash. And this is it. So from here it's smooth sailing to the border with Pennsylvania, and then my first stop, Erie. I'm gonna get breakfast, make some veggies, my new diet. Oh, and I'm switching. Another news is that I'm switching my phone service in US from AT&T to Straight Talk. I used Straight Talk before, and then I noticed they were slowing the speed of data down after I think 2.5 gigabytes per month. And so I switched to AT&T because the guy said, oh, they don't do that throttling, like artificial limiting of the speed. Turns out they do it. Right now there's I think there's like a legal case against them by the government. So AT&T does the same thing, and they charge $60 a month as opposed to $45. And I get more data. Like Straight Talk gives you 3 gigabyte of high-speed data for $45 US, and unlimited voice anywhere in Canada, no roaming. no long distance, right? The same as AT&T, but you get more data. So what's the point? And also they allow you to keep your number. You just need to go online and you have to know your PIN number from AT&T. And for some reason I forgot mine, and I couldn't reset it when I was in Canada because I had no service on the phone, so I had to wait till I'm in the States. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reset my AT&T PIN number, and then I can transfer the number to the Straight Talk plan. And I bought the kit last time. You guys remember I bought a kit, so I'll have $40 worth of basically 1 month worth of service. And another thing is I bought a new camera. I bought a camcorder because I get rid of all my, all that GoPro. I was unhappy with it, so too many attachments. You have to change them every time, and no screen, no display in the back. You have to use your smartphone. Otherwise, you're not even sure what you're filming. So now I'm just getting a regular camcorder, but it's a very nice Panasonic with a very good sensor. And all reviews I read online say that the quality of the video is great. And it's not a cheap one. It's pretty expensive. I think it was what, $800 Canadian. And one of my viewers sent me a gift card, which covered part of the payment, and I paid the rest. So I'm gonna get that camcorder when I get back to Canada, because it's being mailed to my home address, my mailbox. So stay tuned for some exciting videos, and I'm gonna do unboxing, unwrapping, and some video tests. And I think the model is called Panasonic 750K, 750K. Now the good news is that this trip allows me to escape the cold and enjoy the warm weather for a little while longer, because this is end of December, right? 28th, I think today, December 28th, and the weather was still very mild in Ontario. And then I looked at the forecast, and they were saying that today's Sunday, so they were saying that in a few days, like Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be -5 Celsius, then -8, which is getting closer to what, like 20 Fahrenheit?
Keep to the right in 3.1 kilometers. Press 20 connector.
I turned on my GPS again, and this thing is unbelievable. It says in 3 kilometers, turn right on US 20. Instead of staying on I-90, it found a shortcut, because that's like saving 0.1 miles on the way to the truck stop. What a crazy thing. But anyway, and I'm going to North Carolina. Over there, I'm going to cross mountains on the way there. And it's not as big as the mountains in California, but it's a mountain ridge. And once you cross that and a couple of tunnels, it's like totally different weather from the northern U.S., like where I'm driving now. But right now it's 4 Celsius, which is probably, I'm guessing, 37, 38 Fahrenheit, which is still nice for the end of December.
To the right in 1 kilometer. Press 20 connector.
But it should be much nicer in North Carolina. So that's one, as I always say, that's one big plus of this job, is that I can, especially when you can choose loads. When it's cold in one place, you go to the place where it's warm. So in winter, I can go to Western Canada, or in summer, I can go to Western Canada, but in winter,
to the right. Press 20 connector.
I want to go south. No, we're not going to take this exit. Are you crazy? I'm staying on I-90. What's wrong with you?
Freeway exit on the left then 1.4 kilometers on US 20 and Y5.
Yeah, so sooner or later, this weather is gonna end. So December is usually okay here in Canada and the States, but January and especially February, that's when it really sucks to be a truck driver. And I just went through the toll booth at the end of New York. Approaching the border with Pennsylvania. You see a welcome center, or rest area / way station on the right with picnic tables. So you can have some barbecue while you're waiting for the scale. You come in Pennsylvania, State of Independence. Welcome. Now here, I like these numbers much better when mile markers are the exit numbers, right? Not some crazy arbitrary numbers in New York they use, where it's like 5 miles between each, 5 or 10 miles between each exit number. Right, so here you know, it says exit 30, that means you're 30 miles away from the border with another state. So, which is the way I like it. Control is on. My speed is 60 miles an hour, or 97 k an hour.
Keep to the right, Depot Road, Davidson Road, followed by a right turn.
Exit 35 of I-90 in Upper Creek, PA. It turns out I screwed up with my GPS. That was my own fault, because when I was using it in Canada, there's only one toll highway there that most trucks don't use. It's 407, because it's very expensive. So I turned off toll highway use on the GPS, right? But then when you enter US, there's no way you cannot bypass I-90. And that's why my GPS was trying to send me around. So I went to...
Approaching destination on the left. You have arrived. Tar Harbor Creek Travel Center.
So I went into settings and... enable toll highways, and the GPS stopped giving me headaches. And just as I suspected, fuel here is pretty expensive, so it's $3.59 US per gallon. So it was actually cheaper in Canada because of the sales tax and the weak Canadian currency. Alright, I'm gonna take a brief break here, check the load. Here they have a Volvo dealer, and it says Mack as well, so I might use this in the future. Because, you know, a friend of mine said he has a Volvo, and he said it's a pretty good dealer. I used there's a Cat right next to the truck stop as well, Caterpillar dealer. So when I had my international truck with the Cat engine, I used that one. But now, I guess I'll be using this Erie Truck Center. It's on the right. Like as I'm driving, it's on the right behind the trucks. Okay, where are we gonna park? The truck stop is pretty much empty today. Now straight ahead, far away, you might see the yellow machinery. That's Caterpillar dealer, the one I just mentioned. We'll just park somewhere here next to the truck wash. There's always space here, far away from the truck stop. A friend of mine who she's a lady watches my videos, she just sent me an email saying that she's trying to get more females to watch my movies, and even though some of them find me handsome, one thing they don't understand is why this guy drives a truck. And that just gets me started, you know. That's because that's an interesting topic. Calling what I do driving a truck, it's the same as calling an accountant. Like, what do you do? Oh, I type on a computer, because they do type on a computer, right? I do drive a truck, but first of all, I can make anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 a month. Like, how many people you know that can do that, you know? And this job doesn't even require a university degree. You can, like, I do have a university degree, but anyone with a couple of cells in their brains and someone who's good with machinery and equipment, anyone can do it. Secondly, this is my truck and my trailer. Right? So I'm a contractor. It's the same as a construction guy who owns his equipment. This is totally different from being an employee, like a company driver, right? That's why I can make more money. And last but not least, like, he drives a truck. To me it sounds like, you know, someone loads the truck, does all the paperwork, and then they just call this local idiot, give him the key and say, okay, drive the truck, drive straight, in 5 miles turn right, and stop the truck, and your job is done. All right? That's not how it works, like, all right? I work with computers, with the GPS, you know, I deal with a whole bunch of paperwork. Here's the paperwork for this load, all right? I deal with permits, I deal with DOT inspectors, but most importantly, all my loads, because I'm Canadian, all my loads are across the border. So I'm not a regular trucker, I'm an international trucker, which is quite a prestigious field. You know, if you look at it from my point of view, like I feel like an average Canadian, you know, and I travel to US pretty much all the time, so I can buy stuff that's much cheaper than in Canada. Like, US viewers will not understand this, but imagine you live in one country you know, like, I don't know, Norway or Switzerland, right? And you can cross the border, which is not that easy for average people. Like, not that many people go to US like every day, right? Or like 2-3 times a week, because you have to pay fees, you know, everything is different, you know, like you have to know where you're going, you know, like most people go on holidays, like Canadians, right? They go into US on holidays or vacation, but they don't do it 2-3 times a week. Like, I can do whatever I want. I can, after 2 days in US, I can bring up to $850 duty free. So I can buy a TV if I want to, you know, or I can buy a car, bring it over, you know. It's a very cool job. I remember in Russia, I talked about this in one of my videos. It was pretty much impossible to get a job in this company back then, when the Communist Party was, when we had the communism, right? There was only one company. It was called Sovtransavto. Like basically a Soviet transportation automobile company, you know. So this was the only company in the entire huge country which was owned by the government, and they had these like cool foreign-made imported trucks, you know, and they were going to nearby countries. So this was like long-haul international trucking, and it was impossible to get in. You have to have lots of trucking experience, lots of semi truck experience, you know, and probably you have to speak some language, like some foreign language. So you have to know how to deal with the international paperwork. So some people, actually not some people, but lots of people just have a very simplified idea of what international truckers like me do, you know. So this is not simple. Like, to reach this point, you need to have lots of experience. And I'm talking about my trailer, my particular thing that I'm doing heavy haul now, right? You have to be very careful. It can be dangerous. So it's a very responsible job. So, and as I mentioned before, you can make a whole bunch of money. I can make as much money as a lawyer or doctor, let alone nurse. Oh, and by the way, speaking about nurses, when I was staying at this hotel in Cambridge, there's a very cute girl, and she just came from Philippines. She speaks English, you know, very nice, almost no accent. Beautiful girl. And I said, so what do you do? And she says, oh, I'm gonna start school soon. And she has a bachelor degree in nursing from her country, and now she came to Canada like less than a year ago, and she takes a couple of other courses to make her degree recognizable, and then she'll be a nurse. And we start talking, and she said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a trucker. I have my own truck. I showed her a picture. And her first question was, so how long do you think you'll be doing this? Basically meaning you're an idiot, you know, you drive a truck. But that reminds me, when I was a realtor, real estate broker, right? My own guy, and I made $100,000 US a year. Not every year, but 1 year. And people didn't get it totally what I was doing, right? And one Russian girl was when I was showing her the property to her boss, and she asked me pretty much the same thing. She says, "Ну сколько ты будешь офиса еще показывать? How long do you think you'll be showing office properties to people?" Like, to her, that was all this job entailed. But I'm there to show an office. She had no idea that I was the guy who found this office, talked with the owner, promoted myself, found the customer, her employer, the foreign, it was some kind of a US or I think it was Goodyear. Yeah, Goodyear, you know, tire company. They were opening a rep office in Moscow, Russia. And I made a whole bunch of money, probably 5 times, 10 times more than she was making. And to her, my job was just showing office space. So basically, don't get me started. And this girl, this Filipino girl, she's gonna be a nurse. Now, to me, I would never understand why would someone want to work with sick people and spend 8 to 5 or probably even more, right? Like, especially during the first time, they work long hours, but you always with sick people, right? That's what hospitals are for. You know, how depressing is that? So, you know, I'm driving a truck. Like, to me, there's no comparison. Like, forget, like, money is much better. Environment is much better, like my job environment, right? No bosses on my shoulder, right? No sick people here, you know? Jesus. And then a guy comes in, and she says, checking in, and we're talking, right? And the guy comes in, this was like Christmas Day, and he says, and they start, and I'm just overhearing, like I'm looking at my smartphone, and this black guy talking to the Filipino girl. And she says 6 nights. He says yeah, and I guess he was American. And she says, oh, you just came from US? And the guy says, yeah, I took the Greyhound. Greyhound. That's the key word in this sentence. He says, I took the Greyhound. And I'm familiar with that, right? Because that's of course that's the coach line, the bus line, right? And you can travel anywhere pretty much in US and Canada. And I tell the guy, I said, hey, I just did that. I said I took the bus from New York City to Toronto, but for like $75, but then I had to pay over $200 for a taxi cab from Toronto to Cambridge, which is like 35 miles. And the guy says, oh, that's where I came from. So he just came from New York City on Greyhound. Right now, this Filipino girl gave him the form, right? She says, okay, here's your key, here's your Wi-Fi passport, and she gives him the form to sign, and she says, please initial here that this is a non-smoking hotel, and put in the license plate number of your car, the make and model. And the guy looks at her, he's like dumbfounded, right? And I look at him, he looks at me, and then I turn to this girl and I said, he told you he came on a Greyhound. And she says, what's a Greyhound? And this is the girl who was asking me, how long are you going to be driving a truck? So I rest my case. Thanks for watching.